Okay, folks, so it is about time before Christmas, so I am going to gift the world with yet another one of my stellar golf course reviews. So today is the day after I stopped in Tucson, Arizona, on my way up to somewhere. I can't quite say where. Um, just out. I have the liberty again of being able to take a couple of months off. Loving it around Christmas, New Year's time. It's definitely a great time to head out west and see America in all of its splendor as it was back in the days of the settlers and the expansion westward. And it is, I would say it's interesting because most of the country, if you head far west of the Mississippi, pretty much the same as it was around the 1840s and so on. And so I stopped. I made sure this time I was going to stop in the Phoenix area and play golf in some of the more urban locations in Arizona. Last time I made the mistake of coming out here, and this is one of those things. A good thing about a good trip is you want to do some research about where you're going and think about what you're going to do on a daily basis. Where you need to have some specific goals in mind to really make the most of it. Otherwise, it's 3 days, 4 days of traveling out there, whether you fly or drive or whatever. Then you get there and you're like in your hotel room and you're like, well, what are we going to do today? And then it's chaotic. You might think of something that interests you, but it's in this large menagerie of things that you could be doing. And so, of course, you do this one thing and you go, whoa, wish I was there, wish I was there, wish I was done that, and whatever. So this time, I took some time before I actually came out to memorize some of the geography, Chandler, Mesa, Maricopa, places that are different, I guess, areas of Phoenix, Tucson, and so forth. So when you go to golf now, and I'm not saying that I have some great, far-reaching agenda or something, but I did want to play in some different courses in Arizona specifically because they are so different than the courses are on the East Coast. And I've played so many courses on the East Coast. I wanted to play some. Really kind of had this urge for a while to come back out here. I came out to Phoenix once 20, 30 years ago to play and for work, and lucked out. Literally, the day we were leaving, I was like, screw it, I'm going to go, take a rental car and go play golf somewhere. Went out to Chandler, the University of Arizona, and played at one of the courses out there, which was a course that was named after some guy that got cancer and died, a student there. And it was a nice little course. It wasn't, the world's biggest course, wasn't the world's best looking course or anything. It was nice, just a nice introduction to playing in the landscape that is Arizona. And if you've ever been out here or even really spent some time looking at cowboy and Indian movies, you kind of get an idea what it's like. I mean, this mostly desolate is really what it's like. Although if you're into mesas and tumbleweed and things like that, and the occasional river or lake cutting through the desert, high desert landscape, it's not bad. So lucked out, found a nice course, played it, and ever since I really had this urge to come back out and play again. So this time stopped in Abilene or something like that, one of the two. There's two highways that come out here. One is this Route 40, Highway 40. The other one is Highway 10. And I suppose somewhere also there's a Highway 66, which I'm not sure exactly where it comes through, but 40 goes through Oklahoma City and then comes west. And 10 goes south through Dallas. So I think right before you get to Dallas, you come out of Memphis and Little Rock, there's a decision point. You have to decide whether you're going to take 10 or you're going to take 40. 40 goes north, goes up through Fort Smith and then through Oklahoma City and goes out through, not Abilene, but the other Texas town up in the Panhandle, I think it is. and then comes to Albuquerque. 10 goes south through Dallas and heads towards the border, runs right along the border, through El Paso and so on, and then comes through Tucson. So if you take 40 like I did, and then you want to get to Tucson, you have to come back south, down to 10, and then take it over again. So that adds 5 hours of driving right there to go to Albuquerque and then head south to get on 10. And then to go from 10 to Tucson is another 5 hours. And then you go north from there, you go to Phoenix, that's another 3 hours. So it's like, 1 day of driving right there just to get from, essentially get from Albuquerque to Tucson and then back into Phoenix. That was a pain. It really was annoying that I had just overlooked that reality and had to do all that extra driving but it was a good thing that I got to the course I was going to play at noon, roughly a quarter to noon, and race to do it. I had to really kind of race to get that in that time. We got a hot deal on Golf Now, $50 to play a course called Crooked Tree. It's either Crooked Tree or Crooked Branch, one of the two. Surprisingly, this is in a sort of neighborhood park, and it's a golf course in this park, and it doesn't look like it's going to be anything much of a golf course when you drive up, off of, I guess it's 10 coming north, and then drive out to the east to go to this course. But it's in, I think, Chandler. Yeah, Chandler, east of Route 10, heading north through Phoenix. And it's just like this scrubby, it's one of the dangerous things about this area is there are some nice neighborhoods and some nice courses, but it's the same landscape. I mean, it's just dry, dusty, Arizona. And it was flat, mostly flat course, almost entirely flat, which is not something I really like about a course. But this course was actually a really nice course. It was surprisingly nice for a course that was in the middle of this city / residential / industrial area, and there weren't really any houses around there, and it was just a nice picturesque Arizona desert course with abundance of water, really, and lots of desert cactuses and stuff like that, that kind of traditional thing about Arizona. It definitely had that, and I really liked it. I was actually sort of overwhelmed by this course, considering where it was. It just was not in some place where you'd think there would be a good golf course. And while it wasn't a spectacular course, it wasn't, like Seven Canyons or something like that, or it certainly wasn't like the Sedonia National or whatever I played before, which was in this nice development of houses, but it just had so many houses, just literally like walking through people's backyards in a sense to play, and literally in some holes it was just playing right off their backyards for like a whole string of houses. Nothing like that at all, just completely radically different. And in fact, the problem with the pictures that I took in which you've seen probably 10 minutes or so by now, is it really was not a lot different from hole to hole to hole. But it did sort of remind me, and not a little bit either, it reminded me a lot of the North Course down at Torrey Pines. Very similar to that. It didn't have the degree of verticality, and it wasn't like you're looking at these big, gaping cuts in the Earth's surface that some of the holes have there at Torrey Pines. But it wasn't like they were shallow either. It wasn't like you wanted to hit down into these areas or down into the water or anything like that. It didn't have the seaside views, didn't have the jets flying off the coast of whatever that airfield is down there. But still nice. It was like a smaller, cheaper version of Torrey Pines North, and had a lot of fun playing it. The weather was just awesome. It was actually slightly humid, 75 degrees, and just beautiful, beautiful sky. Here, almost no clouds. Early in around, they started to come in a little bit in the afternoon, but still very nice. And I would have to highly recommend this course. It just had one tiny little flaw, which I think unfortunately comes with the urban golf course concept is that it had one hole where the back tees were, I swear to God, 10 feet from a 2-lane road. And there's a lot of traffic coming off that road that was whizzing right by the tees and stuff. But it also had a lot of really good holes, a lot of really good challenging holes, some holes that were familiar based on similar courses. And I had a really good time playing it. And a nice clubhouse, nice people working there, good practice range. That opened up onto like a football field or an abandoned soccer field behind this high school that was near the course. I absolutely had the time of the month of playing golf. It sort of made up for not playing any new courses for the last 3 or 4 months, but really been too busy with work. And this is one of the things about my life, which it's the yin and yang of my life, is that while I do spend a lot of time working and I have a lot of obsession about work, and when I'm working I'm like almost completely focused on work, and one of the reasons why I play golf religiously once a week is to give me that time away from focusing on work and worrying about work all the time. It's also kind of good to have a couple of months, at the end of the year, I can just go out and say, I'm not worried about work, I'm not worried about this, I'm not worried about a house, I worry about kids in school. I'm just going to go out and chill out by myself and go somewhere. Just close the door on that side of my life and go worry about the other side where I'm not worried about work for at least a few months. So ultimately, I would have to definitely recommend this course. It is a solid B+ course, 6,800 yards from the back tees, and significantly longer and harder from the back tees and from the forward tees, the white tees. I was playing with this guy, his 80-year-old guy. He was playing from the white tees, and I was playing from the back. And, we were just, once we sorted out the whole timing thing, I think that was a key part. We had to sort that out because the group ahead of us was a bunch of young guys that were not really good golfers. And they were holding up 4 or 5 groups, not just us, but like 5 groups behind us. So eventually we ended up passing. We just kind of had to. It was just ridiculous. We're all sitting there watching them play and just cruised around, had a good time. I mean, honestly, it was one of the best rounds of golf I've had in a long time. That's Crooked Tree Golf Course, and I think it's Chandler, but it's definitely on Google, and it was $50 for a hot tee time on a Tuesday at noon, roughly. Normally, I think there was $35, 35% off, so it would be in a $75 range. Not quite a pop collar course, but still a reasonably decent upscale course, and very picturesque. Just nice, lovely course, without being super long or tight or having houses run on both sides of each fairway, which I absolutely hate in a golf course. And our highway traffic racing by one of the holes. Just really nice. Just about as nice as you could get without having to worry about it being, 7,200 or 7,600 yards or $125 or a 5-hour drive out in the middle of nowhere. All those things which you can find. I mean, there's definitely courses like that you can find in the DC area, but it is a day thing to play a course like that, unless you stay at like a local resort, which a lot of places have resorts like that. Just not all that work, all that effort, all that time, and all that money. Very nice for what it was, and I would wholeheartedly recommend it if you're in the area. That's Crooked Tree Golf Course. I have to give it a solid B star. It wasn't quite all that to give it a B+, but still pretty damn good.